let's get something out of the way right now. That new Superman trailer, it isn't the first full trailer. That honor belongs to the so-called teaser trailer from back in December, which ran for a generous 2.5 minutes and introduced us to James Gunn's rebooted universe with all the bells, whistles, and nostalgic fanfare that you'd expect. But semantics aside, the trailer that dropped yesterday has reignited a conversation that refuses to die. Are we just repainting the past with brighter colors and calling it new? Because, let's be honest, this thing looks a lot like Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. And yeah, the colors there are less moody, but the tone is lighter, mostly. And once you scratch the surface, the themes are quite frankly all the same. Government oversight, foreign intervention, Lex Luthor pulling strings behind the scenes, and Superman caught between saving the world and being policed by it. Deja vu? Anyone? Anyone? And you can see this all over the internet right now. Fans are clocking the visual parallels. Superman framed against the sun, Lex Luthor weaponizing alien tech, Man of Steel being arrested by the government, Lois Lane grilling Clark like she's hosting Meet the Press. None of this is subtle. Even my buddy Movies That Maher, the guy who kicked off the whole release the Snyder Cut movement back in 2017, called it out. He says it feels less like let's try something new and more like I can do that better. Which, for anyone still emotionally invested in the Snyderverse, that does kind of feel like a little bit of a backhanded slap. It's like being told for years that your favorite Superman was now wrong. Too dour, too complicated, too mythic. And now suddenly we're seeing that exact same Superman story, just with a sunnier Instagram filter and a different actor who does look surprisingly similar to Henry Cavill. If Man of Steel and Batman v Superman were the cinematic equivalent of heresy, then why is James Gunn walking the same theological path? It's the same thing Disney did with The Force Awakens. They needed to bring Star Wars back after the prequels left fans feeling burned and disillusioned. Although with time comes reimagination and reviewing, and now those movies are kind of better off anyway. But they still had to wrap the comfort of A New Hope in a shinier visual and with new characters. And they made damn sure that it hit every single beat you remembered. Why? Because familiarity sells. Nostalgia reassures. It's an addictive opioid. And most importantly, it lowers the damn stakes. You don't have to reinvent the wheel when you can just repolish the rims. But here's the difference. The Force Awakens knew that it was a remix. It leaned into it. Gunn's Superman is trying to have it both ways. It's like playing with a clean slate while quietly sampling the exact same chords Snyder used, hoping you won't notice the key change. And look, maybe that's the smart play. Superman as a film property is bruised. He's had more failed reboots than Batman's had Batmobiles. The Donner films gave us gold. Then came the decline. Superman 3, trash fire. Superman 4, the less said, the better. Superman Returns, on the other hand, tried to recapture the magic, and instead it felt like watching someone try to dance in a museum. Sure, it was technically impressive, but it was still stiff and lifeless. And a lot of people to this day, nearly 20 years later, still don't like it. But then you get Man of Steel. A bold, brooding reinvention that dared to ask, what if Superman was real? The kind of real that comes with the geopolitical consequences and moral ambiguity. It made money. It made noise. It made people mad. And then Batman v Superman doubled down on the deconstruction, only to get gutted by a studio too damn worried about runtime to realize it had cut out the movie's actual brain. Yeah, I'm talking about 30 minutes of plot pulled out. What we got in theaters was a fragmented mess. The Ultimate Edition that came out a couple months later, it was a revelation. It was a masterpiece. But it was also dead on arrival because it was too late. And that also summarizes the DCEU. The biggest crime of it wasn't ambition. It was incoherence. And that incoherence really reached its climax in 2023 when Warner Brothers released 4 straight flops in a single calendar year. Do you remember Shazam 2? What about The Flash? What about Blue Beetle? What about Aquaman? You can't blame COVID for those movies failing. This was a slow motion disaster played out over 12 months. Each one of these movies almost felt more ignored than the last, especially when you look at The Flash. Even Michael Keaton's Batman coming back, the Danny Elfman theme song being used, wasn't enough to put butts in seats. Aquaman 2, $1 billion first run, a little over $400 million, I think, on its second. That's pretty bad. And this wasn't just a franchise in free fall. This was a franchise that knew it was already a ghost because it was announced right after Black Adam hit theaters in 2022 when James Gunn and Peter Safran are taking over. Therefore, making even that movie and the 4 films that followed it completely null and void. So now here we are, 2025. It's Gunn's turn at the bat, and now he has to revive Superman. Not just the character, mind you, but the brand. And to do that, look, he's playing it safe. He's giving you the familiar, wrapped in the language of something fresh. He is echoing Snyder without saying his name. He's using that same dramatic tension, godlike powers versus human fear, but with a wink and a hopeful score. That's also heavily bathed in nostalgia. And yeah, it looks good. It does. Colors are good. David Corn's sweat is charming. Rachel Brosnahan is sharp, very much echoing a Lois Lane type embodiment. The cast is pretty stacked. But if we're going to praise this new Superman for tackling questions of global politics and public fear, then we kind of owe Zack Snyder an apology. Not me, because I've been supportive for years, but you, the people who hate him. And yeah, I'm putting an onus on you on this one. And why do we owe Zack an apology? Because this is his playbook. Gunn is just running cleaner routes. None of this is to say that the movie won't work. It might be great. But let's not pretend that it's some radically new vision when it's clearly a retread with a better marketing plan. Barbie, anyone? I mean, that's what the streets are saying. And if his take is really that different, then why does it feel so similar? That's the danger with these legacy characters. The moment you try to fix them, you are inevitably wrestling with the ghosts of all the versions that came before. This is something Zack Snyder opted to do differently. Rather than just going back to Donner, he tried the deconstruction route, the if Superman was real route, the if the world reacted to him in a realistic manner route, and that was somehow bad, and he didn't get the character. But Gunn's doing something very similar, and oh my God, I've never seen anything great. But remember, the character of Superman, and this goes for literally every comic book character that is being adapted into a movie or other kind of linear-based property, it's got a graveyard of ghosts. And in this case, Gunn's job isn't just to make you believe that a man can fly. It's to make you forget that you've seen this flight path before. Your thoughts, your opinions. My name is Matt. I'll talk to you guys later.